do you want me to turn it on?
Right. Thank you very much for coming. Some of you have come from miles away. Northampton, Cornwall, Plymouth. Thank you very much for making it here. It does show, doesn't it, what Sherborne is like. This has been advertised in Sherborne. They're obviously more interested in politics than reality. I was in this book store just then, having a look at some things, and I found a book, and it's called The Japanese and How They Tortured People in the Second World War. How did they do it? Just because they had an authoritarian, dictatorial, the man didn't mean anything. So one of the torture things was to bind the knees, I noticed, and the ankles with barbed wire by filling the man up with water. This is the sort of thing that we're going towards, unless we start to realise what is actually happening in this country and the cause of it. And hopefully by the end of today you're going to know how to destroy a country and you're going to know how to destroy man. And you're also hopefully going to begin to have some idea of how to remedy that and do something about it. Now one of the first of all, my name. My name is called David. Okay? I have a family name, and that's called Kame. Okay, so that makes David Kame. Now you might think that's a bit of a strange thing to say at the beginning, but it'll make, some of you already know why I'm saying this, but it'll become clearer as I go throughout the talk. And one of the main things I want to say to you is man cannot serve two masters. That's going to be right at the front of your mind. I don't know if any of you watch morning television. Does anyone glimpse at morning television? No? Right, well, there's this man they get on called Martin Lewis. He's got certain credentials, and you just need to look him up, and he talks of, he's very, very wealthy. He's sort of like the face, the pretty face of the corporate entity that's taking over this country. He's sort of like the pretty face. Now, I saw him the other day, and he was doing this with his hand. You know what to say, do this? These politicians and people all in the know, they all do this with their hand. Have you seen this? Yeah. They hold their thumb and they do this funny thing up and down. Anyway, he said, you must register. They're desperate. Because there's a lot of people now not registering, there's a lot of people now not voting, because there's a lot of people now very aware of what is going on, and they don't want anything to do with it, and they realise that there's some sort of thing sitting on top of them that wants to take them over. And so they don't want to register. I'll talk to you about registering in a minute. But he said, you've got to register. Young people have got to register. Treat it like this, he said. He said it's politicians, political parties are like firms. They are selling you their wares. They're selling you a product. They're selling you an ideology. And of course, that means, of course, they're corporations. They're like big shops, aren't they? And that's what he said. And it was so clear. Desperate to get you registered, desperate to register, desperate for you to realise that they are corporations. They tell us, it's all hidden in plain view, that we are run now, essentially, by corporations. That's what this country is run by. Now, register, just for your information, it means give up ownership to whomever keeps the register. So when you move into a house, people, in my view, quite insanely, register their property if it's not registered. They go to the land registry and say, hey, listen, we want you to take over. Basically, what they're saying is we want you to own our property on a level, because they can interfere with it from then on in. Register to vote. You'll understand a bit more about registering to vote as I go on. It's not a good thing to be registered, because registering is about dividing yourself. It's about giving some ownership of yourself over to somebody else. Man cannot serve two masters. That, by the way, is from Matthew 6:24. And I'm saying this, it's quite significant I'm saying Matthew 6:24, because as you probably know, the root of our law is the Bible. There's another little quote I want to say as well. I'm not going to refer to these very often, but they set the sort of theme of what I'm going to say today. Such a man is double-minded and unstable in all he does. And that's from James 1:8. So this splitting of the mind is very important, and it comes up quite often, actually, in the Bible. And it comes up very much in our lives today, as no doubt you will be made aware. Now, this chap called Martin Lewis talked about political parties. He seemed to be saying that your government is a big shop, a big store that you go along to and then you buy something. And they say to you, buy this. If you buy this, I'll give you that. I'll steal off him, by the way, and I'll give it to you if you give me your power. That's basically what voting is all about. And that's what the government is all about. That's what Martin Lewis is trying to say the government is all about. But what is true government? Well, I'll tell you what I think it is. I think it's a protector, and it's a unifier, and it's about applying, in this country and other communal nations, it's about applying God's law, and it's an applier and a facilitator of the law. Next door is a police station and former magistrates' court, being dismantled, taken away, centralised. Everything's getting centralised as far as our justice is concerned. If any of you have tried to get any justice in this world with these people who are running our authorities in this country, you will find it near impossible. And they will attack you and attack you and attack you unlawfully, continually, relentlessly, with their bully boys, and it goes on and on and on. Your government should protect you, it should unify the country, and by the way, unify doesn't mean homogenise and turn you all into a big sexist transgender blob. It means true unity is between things that are identifiable. You can't join something unless it is something. If you erase all sexuality, if you blur all the definition, you destroy. It's a unifier of what is. That's what a government is. It protects you, and it should enable you to have access to justice. A government is not a policy shop, and it's not a handout centre. Come to me, and I'll give you handouts. We'll steal from them, we'll destroy the industries, we'll destroy the country, we'll keep you on the teat of government. Now, I want to talk briefly about parasites. Around here, I suppose if you go down to the coast a bit more to the Black Forest, we have ticks, and they give you Lyme's disease, parasites, these things, these little ticks, the parasites, they go on you, and they take your life force out of you. There's another parasite I quite like, because there is the Bible thing going through this. And it's when Jesus was walking along and he found the madman who was all chained up, and he told the legion of evil spirits or whatever they were to leave him, and they went into the pigs. This man was being parasitised upon by entities. We are actually parasitised upon by entities. You'll get to understand that a little bit more later. But the thing is about a parasite, what it does is divide the life force. Man cannot serve two masters. That's what a parasite does. A parasite keeps the host alive so that it can live off it. It turns the host into a slave. That's what a parasite does. A lot of people in here might say we're becoming slaves, or we already are. And I think you know what I mean when I'm saying that. Man cannot be divided, man cannot have two masters, and so on. It's amazing how small these parasites are as well, isn't it? And yet they have such tremendous power. A parasite that big can take the life force. Our dog had two little ticks on it, and you're thinking, what's the matter with it? It's all gone low energy. Had two ticks on it. This is what is happening in this country and other countries across the world, with people exhausted. They go home from work, they can't do anything, absolutely exhausted, they're microwaved with EMF, etc, etc, etc. There is some good news though. There is a whole, a one total absolute unity, isn't there? Does anyone know what that is? Or who that is? God, of course, is one. Not divided. God is unfragmented. God is truth. God is what is. It's nothing unknown with God, as you know. God is alive. God is unity, as I've said. He is unchanging and he is good. He exists. He is at the root of the law of our country. Now, so it's a good thing. We've actually got something that isn't fragmented. Isn't it a good idea to sort of get close to him and sort that out? So yes, talking about the common law, God's law. The common law is actually God's law implemented, God's law through Christ, I should say, implemented by man's common sense and reason. That's the common law. That is at the root of our country. So we've got to get a good idea of what the position God has in our law. God's law. The word law is Germanic. So it comes from Germanic and it means laid down or fixed. Okay, so God's law is, through common law, is what is laid down or fixed to uphold the good, as he is good, uphold the true and the living. That's what God's law is all about. Another thing about the common law, by the way, is that it means basically you can do as you wish as long as you harm nobody else. That's quite nice, isn't it? No obligations, no harassment from councils, no unlawful behaviour. Anyway, if you ignore God's law, there are problems because you're ignoring what is. Now, a little Bible reference here for you. If you go to Isaiah 1:1 and so on, it says this. A violating nation, a people heavily burdened with iniquity. And don't forget, we're not faultless. This thing that's happening to us is partly because of what we've done in our lives. What we've accepted. A people heavily burdened with iniquity, a seed consisting of evildoers, sons who are corrupters, don't we know about them? They've forsaken Yahweh himself, they've provoked the Holy One of Israel to anger, and I'll talk about Israel shortly, it's closer than you think, and they've turned their backs. So, it's talking about that. It says, why should you be beaten any longer? Your revolt more and more. Remember, rebellion is against, all rebellion is against what's good and true. You'll revolt more and more, the whole head is sick and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot to the head, there's no soundness in it, only wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed or bound up, nor mollified with oil. Your country is desolate, your cities are burned with fire. Foreigners devour your soil and your presence. Does this sound familiar at all? Foreigners devour your cities or land. This is what happens. This disaster always happens. You can see it in the Bible throughout. And the Bible isn't some fairy tale like they've been told by various people. It is a series of facts. It's very important to understand what it is. This is actually what happened. If Israel, those who have the responsibility to work in accord with what's right and good because they've been told it, when they ignore it, disaster happens. And you get this sort of thing. You get chaos. You get foreigners in your country living all over the place. Clergy plan going on, as we've got here. And for those of you who don't know the clergy plan, it's a deliberate plan to inject the northern European countries with people from Africa, from Arab countries, to use the words of clergy himself, to make sure there is no white man left. He wants everybody to be mixed race. This is the sort of thing you get when you start disobeying the law and accepting lawlessness. Now, if we were following the law, all would be well, as Jesus said. Consider the lilies, they neither toil nor whatever, the birds, they don't struggle, yet they're fed, the lilies look beautiful, you don't even try because it works because you're working in accord with what's right. Now, this country is a blessed country. This area is a blessed area. I'm a firm believer in the fact that you go to Glastonbury, I've studied quite a lot about this, about the history of this country, and I'm pretty sure that over there we had Christ walking one day for quite a period of time. Did in these feet, there's that song, isn't there? Did those feet in ancient times walk on these? Yes, I do believe that he was here in Glastonbury. It's very well documented that the first church, in inverted commas, or meeting place with apostles in it, set up by Joseph of Arimathea, started in Glastonbury in AD 37, and yet they like you to think that the church started in this country with St Augustine, of course, who was a Catholic, who actually undermined the British church. It's a very important place, this place we live in. Athelney was where Alfred the Great retreated to when the Vikings were almost taking over the entire country. When he was weak, like we are weak. It's a very important part of the country. The Romans never conquered Cornwall, they never conquered Glastonbury area. In fact, by my studies, they never conquered Britain at all. In fact, it was a treaty that they got to in the end because the British were unbeatable. British, what does that mean? Brit-an. Brit-an means, it comes from Hebrew words Brith and Ain, which means covenant land. Brit-ish means covenant man or woman. We are covenant people. Israel means God rules through them. We have the common law in our countries. What is common law? It's God's law implemented by man's common sense and reason. This country is ruled, or should be, ruled by God's law, as should all common law countries. Israel is a company of nations. I would suggest to you that it's a company of the common law nations. And not to go into that, what I want you to know is this is a very, very important country, and we've got a responsibility to uphold why it's so important. Saxon comes from Isaac's sons. And it said that Israel would be a company of nations. And what is this Commonwealth of Nations in America if it's not a company of nations? Can you imagine if all these countries operated according to the law rather than corporate kleptocracy? I think it would work quite well. So Britain is a very good country. We're pretty set up well to actually protect ourselves here. The history has it, Alfred did it here and so on. So we're a blessed country. Now the thing is, with common law, the line of authority goes from God through Christ to the government or the monarch, which is very questionable, of course, to the man. It's a straight line of authority. The Bible talks about monarchs, so those people who worry about monarchs have got, that they need to reassess their position. Monarchy is very important in the end. But if monarchy worked according to the law, it wouldn't be someone driving around in a big flowery coach having sword fights. It would actually be an extremely good system, run totally by the law, and the monarch would be standing back, making sure that the law was applied, not enforced by enforcement officers that some of us know about. Now then, okay, how do you destroy a blessed country like ours? How do you destroy it? Any ideas?
Undermine the law.
Sorry?
Undermine the law.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's think about it. What did I say? God is alive, God lives, He's one, total unity, it's the root of our law. Our country therefore lives, the common law lives. So what would be a good idea to introduce to a living country? It would be to introduce something that's dead. Then you tear it apart, you separate it in the widest space possible, you split it. You put something dead on it. One thing you can do. You divide it at its core. Like you said, you break the law. Lawlessness and rebellion and everything, and put what is dead against what lives. Introduce dead entities, with the corporations. I'll talk to you about in a second. Now, usury. Let's talk about lawlessness, shall we? William I came into this country. Before he came, we had an Anglo-Saxon situation, which was actually quite peaceful, quite good, although they were pretty tough blokes, as we probably know. It's pretty good then. And there was not they weren't in debt. They didn't go into debt. They were very Christian. It was a very Christian time. Alfred, extremely Christian king, the founder of our common law. Now, what happened was that the Anglo-Saxons used to pay the landowners the taxes they paid was in kind. They used to pay lumps of meat or whatever it was. William came in, William the Bastard, known as William the Bastard for many reasons. He came in and then he said, what I'm going to do is tax you with coin. And the reason why it's coin is because he was most probably in debt. And the evidence of him being in debt, although it's not completely watertight evidence, is he brought over Jews into this country. Now, I'm not in favour of any persecution of anyone whatsoever. I judge them by their fruits. But the thing is, he did bring in Jews, and Jews, by their law and the way they live, they're able to lend money. That's what they do. They lend. So we've got a situation where, previous to 1066, you've got a country which isn't in debt, and you're paying in kind, and suddenly it's in debt. Now, the monarchy is meant to be a direct line of authority and purity from God to mankind, giving the law. So, usury, tick, is now on that direct line of authority. The tick of usury. Okay, the lending is starting to happen. The ancient Israelites called usury the bite. It was a weapon that they used against their enemies. If you look at the Bible, it says, do not lend to your brother, lend to your enemies. The idea is you destroy them slowly but surely. You suck the life out of them. Usury is against the law. As it says in the Bible, Luke 6:34, lend expecting nothing in return. And then some of you might think, why do you keep talking about this Bible all the time? It's getting on my nerves. You might think that. But the thing is, our common law is rooted in God's law, implemented by man's common sense and reason. There is a case called Donahue against Stevenson in 1932, when Lord Aiken used the Bible to find the duty of care. He based it on the second commandment of Christ, which is love the neighbour as yourself. Do unto others as you do unto yourself. That is in our law. Are we seeing this happening in our councils at the moment? Are we having seen this with these little busybodies and etc. and the way they're parasitising us? No, we're not. But I'm not going to go to that right now. Now, anyway, so usury is against the law, and it's also based on return on investment. Okay? It's the time value of money. And by the way, compound interest makes it unavoidable that the very richest own everything in just a few generations. That's the way usury works. That's why only a few families own everything. That's why we're owned now by big, massive international corporations with international banks at the top of them, with certain families behind them. Now, what happened was, so the monarchy got into debt. Edward I kicked out the Jews. He was very horrible to them, killed them, hanged them, got rid of them. Probably because he was in debt to them, kicked them out. But he was also in debt to the Riccardi family in Italy, the black man. He was in debt, the debt tick was on that line. Now what happened later, okay, Edward I kicked them out, but then when Oliver Cromwell came in, brought the Jews back in. The money started getting lent again, and then furthermore, we got the William of Orange, who brought them all over from Holland, set up the Bank of England, the private bank that takes the piss out of everybody and messes around with interest rates, a private bank, and which is one of the key factors of our government, by the way. And then, not long around about William III, we had the political parties. We had the fruit of this division that had happened by separating the life force with the usurer and the living law and so on, and the living monarchy and the living country. We had the usurer and the living country separated, divided. Then, of course, the fruits of that division came with political parties, which are simply, as I said before, corporations. Come here, buy this, give me a vote and I'll give you this. And so you've got these fake political parties, which are really gods now, because they're part of a sort of constellation of gods. They're what people bow to. Vote, in fact, the word vote comes from the Latin votum, which means pay allegiance to a god. So that's what's going on with that's where the political parties, I believe, came from. Came from the rot that happened centuries ago through the usury, the division in the country that came about through that, and then you've got the political parties. So it's one way of destroying a country, and then you create the corporations through the political parties. You've got the lobby groups behind them, you've got people wanting to have power, giving brown envelopes, etc., and putting strings in how the government should be run.